Human imagination, manifest your greatest self. This is Hyptoria, hypnotize you to manifest. You've been taught that imagination is fantasy. What if it's actually creation? What if every version of you've daydreamed about wasn't pretend, but prophecy? You felt it before, those fleeting moments when a vision pops into your mind uninvited. You see yourself standing on a stage, speaking with confidence. You catch the feeling of joy bursting as you walk into your dream home. You feel, just for a second, the warmth of ease, love, abundance, like it's more than a thought, like it's real. But then your conditioned mind starts speaking. It was just imagination. And you shrink back into the cage of the current moment, calling reality the only truth. But here's the secret you were never taught. Your imagination isn't a distraction or a fantasy. It is your direct line to creative force. The images that arise within you are not accidents. They are language, divine language. Imagination is not innocent daydreaming. It is the spiritual blueprint of what is possible, already vibrating toward you the moment you allow yourself to dwell in it with feeling. You were born with divine technology wired into your being. That technology is your ability to see invisible pictures, to feel what has not yet occurred, to step into a scene in consciousness and taste it, touch it, as if it were here now. This is not entertainment. This is creation. The world you presently live in, all of it, your relationships, your bank account, your body, your surroundings. It all took form first in the invisible field of thought and feeling. You were imagining it before you were living it. And now, you get to do it again, consciously. Lesson 1. Your imagination is divine. Most people live as though life is happening outside of them, as if there's a pre-written script and they must adapt to survive it. They're taught to hustle harder, fix what's broken, manipulate the external world like rearranging furniture in a locked house. But what if the truth is far simpler and far more magical? What if life rearranges itself to match the internal movie you are consistently playing behind your eyes? Your imagination is not a mirror, it is a womb. Every time you return to a scene inwardly, with feeling, with belief, you are gestating reality. Every picture fused with feeling as a seed planted in the unseen, and every harvest comes in the image of that planting. It's not about trying harder. Manifesting doesn't require strain, it requires permission. You must allow yourself to believe in your imagination, again, like you did as a child. Before you were told it was silly, before your imagination got labeled childish and your dreams were downgraded to goals and spreadsheets. The magic never left, only your trust in it did. You've imagined limitation before and lived it. Now you're being called to imagine limitlessness. That version of you who wakes up in peace, whose phone rings with unexpected blessings, who laughs more than wounds, dances more than doubts. That version of you is not a fantasy. It's a frequency, and your imagination is the dial. You have the choice. Continue to live as a reactor, bending to what appears, or become a creator, summoning what is meant. All the spiritual masters have hinted at the same timeless truth. As within, so without. What you persist in imagining, you eventually experience. Not because life rewards you, but because life reflects you. There's nothing you cannot touch inwardly. There's nothing you cannot create if you can feel it as real in your inner world. The house, the healing, the love, all of it begins here, in your unseen sanctuary. You're not pretending, you're practicing. Each inward scene is a rehearsal for reality, and your imagination is the scriptwriter. You are not lost. You are simply remembering. You are not broken. You are becoming. And the most powerful act you can do today is to sit in silence and see what eye has not seen and feel it has done. Rest in your holy ability to form before form appears. No matter who you've been or what you've experienced, your imagination remains untouched, clean, divine, ready. Go there. Go often. For there lies your power not only to dream, but to design. Lesson 2. You become what you picture. Close your eyes for just a moment. Picture yourself laughing as you walk through the doorway of your dream home. Feel your feet on the floors you once imagined. Hear your own voice, vibrant and surprised. I'm really here. That image is not idle fantasy. It is your invitation. We become what we repeatedly imagine, and what we repeatedly imagine, we begin to embody. You are always becoming the picture you most consistently hold of yourself. This is the sacred architecture of reality, not formed from effort alone, but from image. Life, in all of its forms and unfoldings, mirrors the mental photographs you linger on. Not the pictures that flash once when you're inspired, but the loops you allow to play again and again in the theater of your private mind. Most people think reality begins with what they react to, but spiritually, it begins with what they create inwardly. If your life doesn't look as you desire, it is not a reflection of your worth, it is a reflection of what you've accepted as real. The movie of your mind sets the tone and tempo for the movie of your life. What you picture is a command, not a suggestion. Vision is not passive dreaming, it is engaged shaping. So what images have you been hosting? Are they of abundance or of struggle? Confidence or hesitation? Radiance or resignation? What you behold habitually is what you begin to become, not just emotionally or mentally, but physically and circumstantially. Your body listens. Relationships respond. Money notices. Because the universe does not argue with your inner picture, it obeys it. To picture something is to preside over your energy like a captain steering a ship. You are not a bystander in this vast ocean of life. You are its navigational authority. Your images are not ideas floating in darkness. They are the coordinates to your destiny. When you repeatedly envision yourself as successful, vibrant, joyful, or overflowing in love, you're not pretending, you're prophesying. Imagination done with feeling is declaration. Picture, and it shall be patterned. But the human mind often resists this. It wants concrete proof before it commits to belief. Yet true transformation asks that belief come first. Not belief in anything anyone else tells you, belief in what you choose to see from within. Most people are waiting for reality to give them permission to believe. Those who live magic know the reverse. Belief creates the doorway through which reality walks in. When you understand, you become what you picture. Imagination takes on an urgency. You no longer allow yourself to entertain images of failure, scarcity, or rejection, not because you're avoiding the truth, but because you're becoming the truth you'd rather embody. Consider this: when you imagine yourself as second best, overlooked, or small, you are rehearsing a life that is not yours. You are auditioning for a role that dishonors your essence. Whatever is pictured with emotion becomes your personal frequency. Feelings electrify mental images with life, turning casual thoughts into creative law. It's never just what you're thinking, but what you're saturating with belief and identity. When you put on the picture of your highest self, you don't wait for evidence, you become the evidence. One thought, vividly felt and pictured, is more powerful than 1,000 repetitions spoken without conviction. And this is the great secret. Your outer world isn't fighting you, it's following you. There are people who are effortlessly rising right now, not because they have it all together, but because they picture themselves already aligned, already thriving. Their outer change is simply their inner picture catching up. It may look like luck on the surface, but the truth is spiritual law. They saw it before they saw it. You have that same divine tool. It is not reserved for the mystic or the gifted or the elite. Close your eyes again and return to the dream home version of yourself. See how she carries herself. Feel how peace sits in her chest. Watch how people respond to her energy, not because she says all the right things, but because she sees herself rightly. And because she sees it, reality catches up. Never wait for the world to confirm what you can already conceive. The moment you can hold the image and feel it as natural, it begins to form. Life cannot resist a mind that knows where it's going. So the invitation is deep and simple. Picture the version of you that is already free, already full, already deeply aligned with purpose and pleasure. Dwell in that image not as a wish, but as your identity. You're not escaping the real world, you're writing it. And when the picture becomes consistent, so will the manifestation. Lesson 3. The self you want already exists. You are not on a journey to become something you're not. You are awakening to who you have always been in spirit. The self you desire, the one who lives with abundance, radiates confidence, loves freely, creates powerfully, and moves through life with grace, is not some goal to reach far off in a distant, perfect future. That you is already here, already whole, already waiting. Imagination is more than vision. It is the divine tool that lets you tune into that pre-existing self, like a spiritual radio catching the right frequency. You are not constructing a new self from scratch. You are remembering. You are aligning. You are choosing to live in sync with a version of you that has always been alive in your inner world, just beyond the noise of fear or struggle or effort. Look beyond the surface of your life. Everything you dream of becoming is not out ahead of you. It's right beside you, within. That elevated version of yourself is not fiction, it's not fantasy, and it's not someday far away. It's a frequency you can attune to right now, and the moment you do, reality begins to shift. You don't manifest your future self by pushing your current self harder. You manifest your greatest self by letting go of who you think you need to be and stepping into the truth of who you already are. Yes, right now. You don't have to wait. The whole idea of becoming can sometimes trick us into feeling like we're behind, like we have so much more work to do, more healing, more fixing, more striving. But your transformation does not come from stacking effort on effort. It comes from stepping into the identity that already knows who it is. The version of you that walks in divine certainty, that expects good, that assumes peace, that breathes in purpose, that radiates worth. That self needs no convincing. Close your eyes and listen in. Can you feel the quiet knowing of that version of you? The one that doesn't try, but simply is. The one that allows, attracts, flows, loves, receives, and creates without panic or performance. That self isn't a hallucination. That self is your truth, and your imagination is the only doorway in. What we call personal development is often really just remembering who we already are. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not becoming something alien to your essence. You are stripping away the lies, layer by fragile layer, until all that remains is the truest version of you, shining like the sun that was never dimmed, only clouded. Imagination is where you rehearse the reality that already belongs to you spiritually. Think of it like tuning a radio. All the stations are already transmitted. You don't create them, you just align with them by turning the dial. Likewise, you don't need to force your future self into being. You simply need to live as if you are already that person. Imagine her, feel as him, walk in their spirit. The atmosphere around you will conform. You don't need to invent your greatness. You only need to accept that it was yours from the start. That's the great secret. Your desires aren't random, they are remembrances. You're not asking for something foreign when you dream. You're echoing something familiar, something known, something real in the vault of your soul. And so, you must stop begging for your future and begin embodying it. If you knew you already were the person you long to be, how would you breathe? How would you speak? Who would you no longer need to impress? What would you release right now? Every vision you have of your highest self is a spiritual invitation, not a performance pressure. Accept the invitation. Close your eyes often and see her face, his strength, their calm, their joy. Assume them, speak as them, be still as them, not to fake it, but because on a deeper level, you already are. The self you seek is not far. It is not complete. It is not locked behind success or healing. That self is whispering to you now, left double quotation mark. And when you do, when you look through the eyes of the self who already has what you desire, life begins molding itself to match. The bridge of incidents will unfold. People, ideas, shifts, and synchronicities will arrive. Not because the world gave you permission, but because you did. You are never creating yourself from lack. You are always awakening to love. And who you want to be, you already are. Lesson 4. Live in the feeling of your future. Desire alone is not enough to shift your reality. Wishing keeps what you want at arm's length. Wanting says, left double quotation mark, that you truly yours. That is the divine key that unlocks worlds. The law is simple. You don't manifest what you hope for. You manifest what you embody. So the question isn't, how do I get there? But rather, can I feel it now? Your future is not waiting for time to pass. It is waiting for you to enter its feeling. Creation is finished. Everything you've asked for already exists in a spiritual dimension, fully alive, rich with experience, love, joy, freedom, peace. But the bridge between that version of reality and what you currently see is not effort, it's feeling. When you consistently return to the emotional vibration of your chosen future, you collapse time. Life responds to state, not struggle. Close your eyes right now. Breathe in through your imagination. Don't visualize a goal like an observer. Be it. If you already had the love, the health, the money, the recognition, how would you feel? Let that feeling take over. Let it be more real than your current surroundings. Let it live within you like a seed, remembering what it was created to be. Because the secret is this: once a feeling is felt deeply enough, reality has no choice but to catch up to it. You don't just think yourself into a new reality, you feel it into form. Your nervous system lights up with belief, your thoughts sharpen into alignment, your actions become effortless, inspired. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, notice different people, attract different paths. The shift happens not because you tried harder, but because you became a new carrier of vibration. You started broadcasting a reality that was already true in the unseen, and then it showed up in the seen. There is no greater act of faith than feeling the joy of a result you cannot yet see. That is the language of the universe. That is your true prayer, not pleading, not chasing, but resting in the state of already having. Imagine the kind of ease you would embody if you truly believed the door was already open. Because it is. Too often people wait for circumstances to justify the feeling. But by then, manifestation is old news. The real power is found when you reverse it. When you choose to feel wealthy before the money arrives, to feel whole before the body is healed, to feel loved before the partner appears. That is how dimensions collapse. That is how the seed of your vision breaks through the soil of form. You are not begging life to give you something. You are becoming the version of you that it already belongs to. The moment the emotional state is consistent within, the outer world rearranges without your pushing, forcing, or stressing. This is what it means to live in the feeling of your future, not as a trick, but as truth. It's not about trying to fake your way into belief. It's about finding one felt second of yes, one drop of real inner knowing, and returning to it again and again until it becomes your atmosphere. Practice entering states, not chasing goals. The state of your desired reality, the feelings that come with it, they are your destination. When you live in them now, you magnetize the life that reflects them. The world is just a mirror of your internal climate. Change the temperature inside, and the forecast outside must follow. So go there often. Go there with reverence, not for the sake of getting, but because it's your home. And when you live in the feeling of your highest visions, when you no longer argue with what's missing, but rejoice in what's already true in spirit, you become untouchable, unshakable, magnetic. You stop waiting for tomorrow to rescue you, because you woke up inside your future today. Lesson 5. Inner vision is the true cause. The world you see is not the origin of your experience. It is the echo.
What if I told you that your reality isn't reacting to your hard work, your efforts, or even your positive thinking, but to the images you hold quietly, consistently, in the background of your mind?
The world responds not to force, but to frequency. And your inner vision, what you dare to imagine and believe in silence, is the signal, but reality instinctively obeys. It doesn't matter if you never speak your desire aloud or post your goal on a whiteboard. If it lives vividly and unquestioned in your imagination, it must take form. This is the great reversal of cause and effect. Outer events are not causes, they are results. Your true power lies in soft, invisible pictures you permit yourself to entertain when no one is watching. The world may call them fantasies. Heaven calls them instructions. If you've been trying to adjust your life by stretching yourself thinner, by rearranging circumstances, or by fixing the signals that come after the station has already been tuned, you're chasing shadows. You cannot fix a movie by editing the projection on the screen. You must go to the film inside the projector. That's what your imagination is. It is the real behind reality, and it cannot lie. Whatever you impress upon it with intensity, with feeling, and with belief, will write itself onto the screen of your life. Everything begins in here. Money, love, healing, joy, your future, your next chapter, the identity you long to live, is not a prize waiting at the end of some long path. It's a picture in need of occupancy. Your job is not to manufacture the evidence. Evidence becomes inevitable. You already do this, by the way. It's to occupy the state until most people are visualizing all the time, but unconsciously, imagining what might go wrong, replaying old memories, running mental what-ifs that paint tiny theaters of fear in their mind. And what happens? Slowly, often subtly, the outer reality begins to conform. The same people, the same patterns, the same plateaus. Not because life is cruel, but because life is obedient. Your imagination is the command center. You are not reacting to the world, your pictures. It is blending too. If what appears outside you isn't what you desire, it is not a betrayal. It's a mirror, not to punish you, but to point you inward. To remind you, vision is the root, not the fruit. It takes incredible trust to turn inward, to treat the invisible world as more real than what your eyes deliver. But vision is more honest than sight. The eyes report what has been. Vision broadcasts what is becoming. The moment your inner image becomes more familiar than your current facts, transformation begins. Not when you fix everything, but when you no longer feed it with your focus. Your attention is oxygen, and what receives it grows. What you ignore withers, and what you dare to picture consistently, faithfully, passionately, must bloom. Now is the time to become fiercely selective about your inner landscapes. Dwell only in images that uplift. See your life as you want it to be, not as it's already been. Practice, rehearse, immerse, not in wishful thinking, but in imaginative living. Because each time you return to your vision with feeling, you're sending a sharper signal, drawing the blueprint in more vivid detail. This is not pretending, it's becoming. Not delusion, but creative devotion. You are not fooling yourself by imagining a greater self. You are revealing yourself by remembering it. And the more clearly you see it, the more quickly life recognizes it and complies. Hold the image. Let your senses taste it. Let your emotions rise with it. Make your vision real, not by forcing the world to change, but by convincing yourself it already has. That is the leap. Inner conviction creates outer construction. You become the seed that contains the tree, the sketch that comes alive. Stop treating your imagination like a game and start treating it like gospel. This isn't just personal power, it's spiritual law. Inner vision is the true cause. Outer events are merely the obedient echoes. Let your imagination speak with boldness. Dare to believe that you truly are the dreamer creating the dream. And then, trust the unfolding. The more deeply you dwell in the inner image, the more reality has no choice but to match it. Live not by what you see, but by what you know unseen. Because once you understand where cause really lives, you will never feel powerless again. Lesson 6. Stop fixing Euler. Start imagining. You weren't born broken. You weren't sent here as a mistake in need of repair. Somewhere along the way, you just forgot the truth of who and what you are. That forgetting created a version of life that felt heavy, tangled, effortful. And so, naturally, you tried to fix yourself. You read the books, you chased the breakthroughs, you journaled your pain, healed your inner child, cleared your chakras, and begged the universe to give you a sign that you're finally whole. And yet, the loop continued. But what if the loop only exists because you keep assuming that you're something less than whole to begin with? It can be hard to hear this at first. There is no you to fix. There's only a self you've rehearsed and believed in, and another self, the deeper, freer, wiser you, that's waiting for your recognition. And the bridge between them isn't effort, it's imagination. The game changes the moment you realize that you create faster by picturing where you're going than by constantly cleaning up where you've been. But this shift requires a radical permission, an audacity to stop being enamored with your wounds and fall in love instead with your visions. This chapter is a sacred severance. It invites you to cut the cord between becoming and trying to be good enough. It asks you to drop the toolbox of constant self-repair and pick up the paintbrush of spiritual remembering. It urges you to see that self-love doesn't begin by fixing yourself. It begins by seeing yourself as the light-filled creator you've always been. Fixing implies the problem is now, but imagination invites the solution from a higher now. The problem with perpetual self-improvement is that it amplifies the very identity you're trying to outgrow. When you focus on healing your scarcity, you're still calling yourself someone who lacks. When your entire energy is devoted to healing trauma, you inadvertently hold the past in place. Does this mean you should ignore pain or bypass old experiences? Of course not. But pain isn't healed by starring in it forever. It's healed by returning your days to a higher vision. Your rebirth begins not when you perfect the past, but when you stop giving it all your power. There is a version of you already living in wholeness, one who doesn't need to deserve it, because it's simply who they are. Let that image arise. See them clearly. How do they walk, speak, think? What choices do they make? Not from fear, but from knowing. That version of you is not fiction, it's fact, in spirit. When you stop trying to fix yourself and start imagining from this version, you accelerate transformation beyond logic. Imagination isn't just a feel-good exercise. It's the most powerful declaration of truth you can make. When you imagine something as done and dare to dwell in the felt sense of it, you align yourself with the pattern from which reality reshapes. You don't have to climb your way up a spiritual ladder. You can leap through vision. You can quantum jump through assumption. But it means surrendering the addiction to struggle first. That's what fixing often is, in disguise an addiction to effort. The ego loves solving problems because it proves it's needed. But your spirit doesn't evolve by efforting. It evolves by expansion. And expansion happens naturally, the moment you stop rehearsing limitation and start embodying the unseen, the true. That doesn't mean life becomes perfect. It means you stop making healing a pre-primitive to receiving. This is your invitation. Let go of convincing life that you're ready. Let your imagined self be louder than your remembered self. Speak, think, and move from the future you, not to become them but because you already are them. Show up today not to prove your worth, but to express your truth. Sink into this. What if there's nothing to fix, only everything to imagine? What if the discipline is not micromanaging your flaws, but consistently returning to the imagined feeling of abundance, peace, brilliance, and alignment, even when your outer world says otherwise? What if nothing is missing from you, but something powerful is waiting to be assumed? Imagination is never about adding something to your life. It's about revealing who you already are. And once you stop orbiting around your perceived issues and start living from your inner vision, reality recalibrates. Try replacing double quotation mark, "Do I fix this?" with double quotation mark, "Now imagine," instead. It changes everything. Because when you stop fixing, life starts rising to meet the version of you who is already free. Lesson 7. Enter the state, not the struggle. You've been taught to fight your way to your desires, to grind, to hustle, to earn them. But that path was never yours. Struggle was never the way. Creation does not come from suffering. It comes from state. Everything you want already exists in a state, not a location, not a timeline, a state of being. And all states are accessible. Think of them like rooms in the mansion of your consciousness. The moment you imagine yourself inside a room, feel its energy, walk its floors, speak as if you belong there, you enter that state. And here's the miracle. Reality starts rearranging itself to match the room you're now living in. Not because you forced it, but because your inner state is law. You don't manifest by doing more. You manifest by being it now. Every version of you, the wealth-filled one, the radiantly healthy one, the unshakably confident one, already exists as a living state in your vast inner world. These aren't unreachable ideals. They are frequencies you can embody. The doorway is always feeling. We've been conditioned to climb a ladder of effort, to believe that the more we stress, strive, and sacrifice, the more we're worthy to receive. But the truth couldn't be more opposite. When you chase something, you admit with every step that it isn't here. You say with your energy, "This is not mine." But when you claim the state, you bypass the chase entirely. You step into the version of you that already has it, and life meets you there. Life reflects not your efforts, but your essence. Step into love, and love shows up in your life. Enter the state of abundance, and abundance comes not because you begged, but because you became it. Lack never leads to wealth. Fear never creates safety. You cannot plant doubt and harvest joy. You must become what you seek. This is the sacred secret of manifestation. So many miss. It's not about doing more. It's about dwelling deeper. You can work tirelessly and still feel stuck because you're operating from a state of lack, of not enoughness. But imagine this. What happens when you stop acting like the struggling version of you and instead move, speak, and think like the version who already has the life? Magic. Not one day but now. Because imagination collapses distance, feeling collapses time. The state you enter becomes the life you experience. This is the essence of creative faith. Not waiting to see the blessing, but living from it as if it were already yours. Yeah, living from the wish fulfilled is the highest act of trust. Most people think manifestation is about convincing the world. It's not. It's about convincing your nervous system, your subconscious, your innermost self, that this reality is already true. When your inner world finally believes, the outer world must obey. You don't need to know how it will happen. That's not your job. Your role is to inhabit the state. The state is the seed. Plant it with feeling, and the vision will grow without force. States come with their own actions. The confident you will take different steps than the insecure you. The free you will speak differently than the fearful you. So don't focus on changing your behavior. Climb into the higher state, and let the actions unfold from that beingness. The state is always available, not once you've earned it, but now, in this breath. You can close your eyes and shift in seconds. You can walk into a room and decide, I am already her, I am already him. And from that frequency, you will feel calm, charged, certain. You won't need to force the world to change. It will bend naturally to reflect this new inner authority into the state, and the world responds. Don't just imagine your desires, become the one who lives them. Don't repeat affirmations from a place of longing. Sink into the feeling that they are already real. This is not pretending. This is the most genuine thing you can do, because it is your inner world that births the outer one. You don't attract what you pray for with desperation. You attract what you embody with certainty. You are never more magnetic than when you're relaxed in your power. Not chasing a future self, but being them. Not waiting on an outcome, but knowing it's already done. The state is your shortcut. The struggle ends when the state begins. You don't need more time. You don't need more proof. You only need to enter the energy of the future you. And then, stay there. Let the world reorganize itself around your new state. Let it catch up to what you now know to be true. Let every step forward be taken not from doubt or desperation, but from the still confidence of knowing you are already there. The work is not the effort. The work is the shift, the frequency, the willingness to dwell in who you already are before life shows the evidence. Enter the state, beloved, and leave the struggle behind. Lesson 8. Your mind is a mirror of becoming. Imagine a mirror, not a cold piece of glass, but a living, breathing mirror that doesn't just reflect who you are now, but reveals who you are becoming. That mirror is your mind. We've been taught to use our minds as rearview mirrors, to reflect what's already happened, to replay memories, to react to what already is. But your mind is not here to merely echo your past. It's a divine canvas, a preview screen, a sacred womb where tomorrow is rehearsed today. Whatever image you consistently hold within will not only reflect back, it will become flesh. Your life bends to what you repeatedly imagine and accept as true. So when your mind begins to see you as someone new, even before you are, reality will rearrange until you become. Everything starts in the unseen. The world you touch, taste, and move through is the fifth shadow, not the source. The truth is silent, interior, and imaginal, long before it is noisy, external, and visible. Most chase results, but very few adjust the projector. Don't fall for the illusion that change starts with action. Real change begins with image, identity, and the inner dialogue you believe in when no one is watching. When you change what your mind mirrors, you change what your life mirrors. But here's the holy twist. The mirror doesn't wait for proof. It reflects belief. It reflects what you move into internally, without needing evidence to justify the vision. That's the great spiritual key, deciding who you are before you can explain how. You're not making things up, you're midwiffing them. When you think of yourself as poor, anxious, limited, or unworthy, even subtly or habitually, life becomes a faithful echo of that silent imaginal pattern. Your finances, your body, your relationships, your sense of peace, they all line up with the shape you made within. You are not punished for your thoughts, you are simply shaped by them. But don't be discouraged by this, be electrified by it, because the opposite is gloriously true. When you begin to see yourself differently, with feeling and faith, not just as a desire, but as an identity, then life has no choice but to rise to meet the image. Results follow your reflection. This is why imagination is not just playful daydreaming, it's your permission slip to become. The mind doesn't argue with consistency. If every day you hold a mirror to the abundant, radiant, healthy, magnetic version of yourself, and you do not contradict that image with fear, shame, or disbelief, it must outpicture. The world doesn't give you what is fair, it gives you what is familiar. So what images have you made familiar in your mental mirror? struggle, delay, being overlooked. That's not your punishment. It's just a signal to update the image. You wouldn't get mad at a mirror for showing you something you're standing in front of. Likewise, don't react to life. Redirect it with feeling, with vision, with an inner knowing of who you're becoming.
When you hold a firm and loving image of your greatest self, the mirror responds. But this image isn't held with tension or pressure. It's held with devotion, with softness, with sacred repetition. The mirror doesn't need you to scream the new story. It just needs you to live inside it, as if it were already fact.
It's not about pretending. It's about pre-living. You are not here to be a slave to what you see. You are here to be the authority, the divine artist painting the inner portrait that life lovingly recreates. Stop using your imagination to reinforce your limitations. Use it to reveal your liberation. Every time you close your eyes and see yourself chosen, healed, supported, joyful, you are holding up a mirror to your destiny. Every time you feel, even for a moment, the wealth, the peace, the laughter of your future self, you set off quiet ripples that eventually become tidal waves of reality. But you must keep the vision consistent. Return to it often, not with desperation, but with sacred delight. Because the mirror works best when you stop trying to force it. You don't scream at your reflection, you simply stand still and let it show you. Similarly, you must stand still inside the image of your becoming, trusting that life is catching up to your vision. Your job isn't to chase, it's to choose the inner picture of a life so aligned, so joyful, so true to your spirit, that reality has no choice but to follow. Everything around you is already moving toward the shape you hold within. Your mind is not reflecting the world, it is instructing it. So choose the most beautiful reflection you can imagine, and let your life become the music that dances to its tune. Lesson 9. Think from, not of, your greatest self. There is a subtle but profound difference between thinking of your dream and thinking from it. Most people live their lives picturing what they want as something distant, like a star they can admire but never reach. They hold their desires in their mind like postcards. Pretty, inspiring, but forever separate from the present. They think of being wealthy. They think of being in love. They think of being confident, healthy, successful, but always someday, not today. And that single word someday is what keeps the dream on layaway, instead of bringing it here, now. But manifestation doesn't respond to longing, it responds to embodiment. To think from your greatest self means to mentally and emotionally relocate your identity to match the version of you that already has what you want. Instead of thinking like someone who is trying to become confident, you think and feel from the place of already being it. You respond to life as if you are already enough. You wake up in the vibration of it. You don't ask for it, you walk in it. And when you do, life rearranges itself. Not because you forced an outcome, but because you became a new cause. This is what it truly means to assume the state. Not visit it momentarily during a visualization, but dwell in it, live from it, make it your new center of gravity. The mind, like a magnet, harmonizes with the emotional frequency you most consistently occupy. When you live from your future self, you collapse the waiting room and create acceleration. Time catches up to the frequency you're holding, and reality, obedient and exact, shifts in order to reflect your dominant assumption. This isn't about pretending or performing, it's about aligning. There's no need to script the perfect visualization or repeat 1,000 affirmations if the energy behind them is still hoping and wishing. Hoping says, it's not here yet. Living from says, it's already mine. That shift, subtle as a whisper, powerful as a storm, is the difference between wanting and having. You hear the call of your greatest self because it is already here, already within. You're not being asked to create it out of thin air, but to claim it by tuning into its mental and emotional frequency. This means we've got to stop reporting back to reality with the same old stories. Left double quotation mark. The more you repeat that perspective, the more you breathe life into a version you're not meant to live anymore. So ask yourself, gently but honestly, are you thinking from the self who has already made it, already become it, already revealed their divine essence? Or are you still thinking of that self as a fantasy you hope to meet someday? You have the authority, right now, to shift from onlooker to embodiment. The future you desire loves to be believed in. It needs your participation. Your assumption is the invitation for your desires to enter.
Miracles don't happen because you're deserving in the eyes of the world. They happen because you finally dared to feel it as real.
Because you've moved into a space inside yourself where the money is already yours, the healing is already done, the love is already present. When you walk into a room thinking from your highest self, the energy shifts, opportunities respond differently. People sense something changed, even if they can't explain it. They're reading your state, not your status, and your state is your strongest form of communication. To think from the self you are becoming means rewriting your internal scripts. Catch yourself when your language contradicts your spirit. Replace "I'll get there someday" with "I'm already aligned now." Replace "I hope this works" with "I trust this is unfolding." Speak from the bluff, mountain, not to it. Don't ask life to change before you do. You are life. When you change, when you feel it is true, when you step into the identity of the one who has, everything else follows suit. The universe is not testing you, it's mirroring you. You're not separate from the version of you who has exactly what you want. You're just used to imagining yourself as someone who's still waiting, but you can change that now. Pull the feeling of your desired reality into your breath, your walk, your tone of voice. And don't do it once or twice. Live there, dwell there. Saturate your consciousness with that truth, and your reality will become it, not because you're forcing it, but because you finally return to it. Remember, imagination is the place where spirit whispers, "Already done." When you think from your greatest self, you're not being delusional. You're being obedient to the truth that eternity has already written you are already whole, abundant, worthy, and free. Now think from that, walk from that, live from that, and watch what begins to bloom. Lesson 10. Imagination is more honest than reality. What if what you're calling reality is actually outdated news, yesterday's manifestation of a former self? What if your imagination is not a dreamscape, but a decoding of higher truth, more loyal to who you really are than the world you can touch? There's a moment in every transformation when the world around you no longer matches the world within you. That moment is sacred. It feels like contradiction, but it's confirmation. The images in your imagination begin to vibrate at a frequency your current conditions can't yet reach. And in that gap between what is seen and what is true, most people give up, not realizing this is the proof that it's working. Reality will always lag behind conviction. It is a polite follower, never the leader. Reality obeys your imagination, not the other way around. You've been taught to trust the external, measure the tangible, and react to what you observe. But your five senses can only show you appearances, they cannot show you becoming. They can only give you evidence of what you've previously believed. That's why imagination is more honest. It tells the truth about who you are becoming, before the world allows it. The unseen shifts before the seen speaks. Imagination doesn't lie, it leads. It's the preview of what your soul is preparing. When you close your eyes and vividly see the version of yourself that lives with freedom, purpose, and deep inner knowing, that is not fantasy. That is guidance, revelation, prophecy in motion. Your mind cannot produce contradiction to your deepest truth unless it's being clouded by fear, memory, or conditioning. The moment you remove those filters, imagination reveals a version of you that's always been there, waiting. So when the world tells you, be realistic, what it's often saying is, match your identity to your past. But the spiritual warrior doesn't do that. The conscious creator turns inward and listens to the music of what's emerging. The visions sent to you are sacred, not suggestions or distractions, but assignments. Blueprints not yet built, but already alive in the substance of being. The illusion is that reality is permanent, but permanence is not a property of the outer world. It is a quality of sustained inner attention. Whatever you dwell upon becomes magnetic. Whatever you feel real becomes visible. You may think you're waiting for the world to reflect your new self, but really, the world is waiting for you to stop denying it, to live that image in feeling, in thought, in frequency, no matter what the outer picture looks like. When your inner reality becomes it, more nourishing than your outer one, you are on the verge of everything changing. It's a holy defiance, choosing to believe the vision inside over the facts outside. But this is the mark of a master. Anyone can believe what they see. The awakened creator chooses to see what they believe. And that shift, subtle, inward, deliberate, changes timelines, shifts parallel tracks, rearranges every molecule of existence to match the certainty you've dared to dwell in. And what you dwell in within, you do not have to strive for in the world. This is a divine shortcut, not an escape, because imagination is not bypassing reality, it's rewriting it. Anyone who has manifested great love, abundance, purpose, or healing will tell you it became true within them before it showed up for them. They treated their vision not as a maybe, but as a message from the divine. This is yours if you live it now. So breathe it in. That version of you who walks whole, clear, activated, magnetic, they're not waiting in the future. They are asking to be seen right now. Your role is not to beg the universe to become someone new. It is to drop the mask of limitation and see your imagination as truth in raw form. Unfinished pottery waiting for your hands of belief to shape it. No more second-guessing what only your soul could have revealed. That vision came to you because it was always meant for you. The world may not believe it yet. That's okay. That's not your job. Your job is to believe until the world catches up, because it always will. Lesson 11. Sustain the image, and reality will catch up.
Imagine this. You cast a seed into rich soil, bathe it in light, water it with devotion, and wait. A bloom doesn't burst into existence the moment you think, flower. No, first there is unseen growth. The roots stretch deep, the stem reaches high. Most of what is happening is invisible, but you trust the bloom will come. Why not trust the same slow, sacred process when it's your dream taking root? This is where most people waver. Not because they lack the power to manifest, but because they abandon the image too soon. They visualize once, maybe twice, and wonder why nothing's changed. But your external world is not a vending machine. It's a mirror, delayed by grace, a lovingly timed echo that asks one question. Can you hold the picture long enough for it to become your identity? Sustaining the image means living with it, like you would a future home you've already signed for, or a love letter you read each night before bed. You don't hurry it, you don't worry it, you become familiar with it. You saturate your days with the feeling of it being already yours. Not in desperate hope, but in calm certainty. Reality responds to your dwelling place, not your momentary visit. This is why fleeting visualizations don't yield lasting change. You must abide in the mental atmosphere of the life you are calling in, not as an occasional guest, but as a resident. Thinking of your dream is not the same as thinking from it. You must move in. And you move in by imagining until it feels uncanny that it hasn't yet appeared. The reason imagination has power is not because it entertains you, but because it transforms you. As you hold the image, unwavering, it begins to invest itself into your nervous system. The body starts aligning, the subconscious mind starts obeying, and without trying, you begin to gravitate, powerfully, inevitably, toward the life you have been mentally rehearsing. But don't be surprised if nothing changes immediately. That's the secret most won't tell you. There will be a stretch of time where your new image feels real inside, but is yet invisible outside. This is sacred space. Space where the old you is dissolving, and the new you is unfurling roots. It can feel lonely, unstable, unclear. Don't run from that gap. Don't cave to the illusion that it's not working. That is when it is working the most. The universe tests not your desire, but your allegiance to the image. Will you believe it's already yours, even when nothing appears to confirm it? Will you clothe yourself in your imagined identity, when the world still calls you by your old name? Your faith must outlast the lag. Start small, if need be. Dwell on one specific scene, one powerful image that encapsulates the life you are calling in. Feel it, marvel at it, walk in it when you close your eyes. Bring it into your mornings like a faithful sunrise. Let it tuck you in at night, more comforting than any blanket. Saturate your being so richly in it that its absence outside feels absurd because it's already so established within. Every result you've ever seen began with a mental scene that someone held long enough for the world to surrender to it. Your circumstances are not in charge, your consistency is. If you can persist, not in frantic hope, but in relaxed knowing, you'll feel the shift. Reality can't help but catch up. You are not waiting for life to change. You are sustaining the change within, until life no longer remembers how to disobey you. Patience isn't passive, it's potent.
Not the kind that waits quietly, but the kind that imagines confidently and refuses to let go of the vision until the dream has no choice but to materialize. Don't just conjure your image, commit to it. This is your blueprint. Hold it with reverence, tend to it like sacred fire, because what you keep seeing inside, you will one day walk inside. There is no power more relentless than a soul anchored in a consistent vision. And once the universe sees you, will not shrink, will not waver, will not forget. It moves mountains to meet the you who never moved from the vision. So sustain the image. Life is already on its way to match it. Lesson 12. You already are who you're meant to be. What if everything you've been striving to become, you already are? What if the version of you that feels ease with money, radiates vibrant health, speaks with divine confidence, and walks in love is not a distant achievement, but the eternal truth of who you've always been? You're not becoming something new. You're remembering something ancient. There is a quiet but powerful knowing that dawns in you when you finally stop chasing and start recognizing. Not recognizing in the mental sense, but in the sacred, the kind of recognition that makes you weep because it feels like coming home. You don't need to get there. You need to awaken to the fact that there has always been here, within. The great spiritual absurdity is that you spent years trying to improve, fix, heal, earn, or attract what was never absent to begin with. You already are who you're meant to be. The process of manifestation, then, is simply peeling away everything that fogs your original light. The world taught you to mask yourself, to earn worth through performance, to define yourself through struggle. Somewhere along the way you traded truth for fitting in, innocence for logic, vision for practicality. And the deeper loss? You forgot that your divine imagination in motion, negative, a soul dressed in story, here not to fight for goodness or value, but to express the perfection already encoded within. This final chapter is not a destination, it is an unveiling. All along, manifestation was never about creating a better version of yourself. It was about realizing the greater version of yourself that has always been present. Just as a sculpture already lives within a block of marble, your highest self has never been far, only forgotten, buried beneath identities you picked up for survival, beliefs you accepted without question, and roles you played to stay loved. But now here, reading these words you remember. The shift happens when you stop identifying as the seeker and awaken as the embodiment. When you drop the spell of not enough and simply dwell in your beingness. This is not complacency. This is the highest act of spiritual courage. To be still and know that I am. And from that stillness, all forms flow. From that realization, mountains move. There's no more striving in the heart of someone who knows they are already whole. When you imagine from this knowing, from the being of the end, not the hoping for it, creation moves faster. Not because you're working harder, but because you've collapsed the illusion of separation. You no longer see your dreams as outside yourself. You see them as extensions of yourself already here, making their way through time to catch up with your awareness. Do you feel it? Every time you relax into the truth that you already are, something inside unlocks. Something divine, something magnetic. And yes, this will contradict the world. The world will want you to prove yourself, hustle for visibility, and constantly fix what it tells you is flawed. But now, you're beginning to see the world doesn't know what you do. It doesn't know that you are not your body, your name, your title, or even your past. You are, I am, pure presence, wrapped in a blanket of frequency, imagining life into form. You don't need to become greater. You need to remember that you already are. Let that marinate in your spirit. Let it become your new posture in life. A gentle confidence, so deep it doesn't need noise. A radiant calm that can't be shaken. Because once you stop arguing with the world about your worth and start owning your divinity, manifestation becomes less of a question and more of an echo, a natural outplaying of the vision you now embody. And when doubt shows up, or fear knocks on the door like an old friend wearing a new disguise, remind yourself aloud, left double quotation mark, speak it, stand in it, rehearse it in your inner theater until it no longer feels like affirmation, but like fact. This is the secret the sages and mystics have whispered for centuries. You are not here to strive for worthiness. You are here to radiate from it. You do not create your highest self. You remember it. You do not attract what you want. You express what you are. You do not become your destiny. You live from it now.
You already are who you're meant to be. And everything you imagine from that knowing returns not as a reward, but as recognition. The world will match what you finally realize. You are not a project. You are a presence.
Now rise, not as a seeker, but as the self you came here to remember.